Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're gonna be talking about Berserk because I've been reading the deluxe editions. I started reading them again when Kentaro Miura died, just because I really wanted to, feel the story again. Of course, everyone who is a fan of a series is gonna feel some type of way if the creator is to pass away. And I deeply felt something because Berserk is one of my favorite mangas ever. I've been watching the anime since, the early thousands. My brothers taught me about anime when I was pretty young, so I've been watching anime forever, and Berserk is just one of those near and dear to my heart. And I'm current with the manga, but I just revisiting it has made me see some things with a new set of eyes. And I just really wanted to hit back at this meme real quick, because every time that I get back into Berserk, this meme pops back into my head. And if you're a Berserk fan, you know which one I'm talking about. We're talking about the Griffith Did Nothing Wrong meme. And I know that some people joke about it. It is a meme for the most part in the Berserk fandom. But a lot of people think that he really didn't do nothing. And I don't like that because you're wrong, okay? You're wrong as fuck. And I'm gonna tell you why. First off, we're gonna break into 3 different parts because, as we know, I like to break into tangents a lot on this channel. Before we do this, I'm about to break into a tangent about how I like tangents. So before we do that, I'm gonna tell you what the 3 parts are, okay? So first, we're gonna talk about Griffith's dream and where it came from, the origin of his dream, and why it's so important to him. Because of course, he wanted to get off the streets since early childhood and into a castle of his own. So that's point 1. 2 is going to be Griffith's breaking point. And this is when Griffith and Guts fight when he leaves for the first time. Excuse me, that was unladylike. And point number 3 is Griffith's ultimate decision to sacrifice his entire crew to the Band of the Hawk on the night of the eclipse. Okay, that is point number 3. And these are gonna be my main points because throughout the story we see Griffith's intentions and dreams change from a very calculated and well thought out plan to reach his ultimate goal. And this plan has some sacrifices along the way, of course. But this turns into a bit of a frenzied and impulsive set of actions. And this is where it falls off the rails to the point where it not only becomes harder to defend Griffith, but it's where he becomes a villain. And it's kind of one of my favorite villain origin stories to date. Griffith has a very unique journey. One of a lowborn who's able to usher his way into a position of power as the leader for the Band of the Hawks. And he would always, look up to this castle in, this place where he grew up. And he always wanted a castle of his own. So this is where he started to think that, okay, I need to find a way to get there. I need to find a way into that castle. And that's how he started building his band of amazing fighters from the ground up into what is now the Band of the Hawk. So this includes all of our amazing characters that we grow to love because of their strengths, their ingenuity, their smarts. But the one thing that I noticed that they all have in common is that they've all laid out their dreams, right? They've laid their dreams aside, or they don't have dreams at all. And they do so in order to make Griffith's dream come true. And I don't know if this was intentional. I don't know if this kind of is to show the kind of people that Griffith recruits ultimately into the Band of the Hawk, but that's one thing that, you know, they all have in common. I've always thought that it was intentional, but I don't know.
お前にはねえのかそういうのやってられっか俺帰って寝るぜこれ以上このアマちゃんには使い切れねえ
あいつはさああ見えても昔盗賊団の頭だったんだささやかながらもあいつは自分で勝ち取る何かってやつを持ってたのかもしれないな俺はさ昔から何でも小器用にこなせる方だった剣もナイフも人並み以上だったし目足も随分効く方だったでもどれも一番になれなかったそれで決めたんだ自分で一番になれないなら一番になれそうなやつの下につこうって最初から欲しがらないやつなんていないさ送るよそこまで見つかるといいなお前の何かってのが
No one is going to lay down their life and fight for you like someone who has devoted their entire life for you and your cause. So, you know, it makes sense that Griffith would go after a very specific type of person, not someone who has dreams of their own and wants to go like do their own shit, which that's exactly who Guts is. Anyway, getting to Guts. Guts is the only person who kind of questions his own purpose in this life. And he, over the course of the story, is like, well, I kind of want to know what my purpose is, and I want to go out there and find it. And this is the catalyst that drives all of the events that are to follow. This one thing is what derails Griffith's dream ultimately. So, this leads into part 2, which is where Guts decides that he needs to go and find his purpose. And they're about to start their final battle, you know? Griffith knows at this point that he is not stronger than this Guts. Guts isn't the same Guts that had fought him the first time that, you know, they had crossed swords. He's a completely different man who has undoubtedly put his life on the line countless times to help further Griffith's dream at every corner. But now that he wants to leave, Griffith feels like he's been betrayed. He feels like this isn't you trying to find your purpose. This is you turning your back on me. And I won't have that. Guts doesn't want to fight. Guts is trying to just leave. He wants to leave amicably, but Griffith still sees him as property. He's like, no. He loses Guts. He loses his will to continue, and he makes what is probably his most impulsive decision of the entire manga. I wasn't a fan of this very impulsive decision because it's just so uncharacteristic of him, but at the same time, it's kind of like he's imploding. Like he wants to get caught. Like he has lost his will to live, and he's just looking for someone to find him. He's just done. He can't find his way to his dream without guts, so he is self-destructing. Sneaking into Princess Charlotte's room to deflower her and let off some steam. This decision right here, it ends up costing him everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. He was eventually supposed to marry her, but it doesn't mean that you can just go into her house, sneak in there, and desecrate her on her own bed. She's not betrothed yet, and you deflower her. Like, this is bad on its own, but the fact that there was someone watching and reported it to the king, it made it so much worse. It was even more worse to find out that this king had stopped other offers of his daughter being married in the past because he is in love with her himself. So it only gets worse. It literally does not get any better. It only gets worse. So let me continue to tell you where it gets worse, because as punishment for deflowering the princess, he ends up getting locked in a dungeon and tortured for an entire year. An entire year. Now, his dream that he was so close to having, he essentially torches it himself the very night that Guts leaves. But why?
Why? Why? Why?
As a reader, we're left wondering, what is so special about Guts that Griffith just throws away his entire dream when he was this close to having it? Mere days before, they had committed a whole plot to murder all of the people who had tried to assassinate Griffith at their ceremony to congratulate them for capturing Doldre. So, you know, they did this together. It was their secret because Griffith had said that, you know, this was something that was too dark for the band to understand. This was something that they should keep, you know, between themselves, because they're the only two people that are dark enough to understand that certain things can't be forgiven and need to be paid for with blood, okay? His closeness to Guts wasn't something that was part of his ultimate plan to conquer his dream. I do think, though, that over time, he began to see that he needed Guts to fulfill it. And without him, that whole plan just started to unravel. Guts' departure leaves Griffith feeling betrayed by the one person that he truly came to see as a friend after all these years. He's only ever seen people as a means to an end, but not Guts. Guts became more than that, and I don't think Griffith ever saw that coming. When Guts returns to find out that on that very night that he had left, Griffith did the unthinkable and has been captured ever since, he can't make sense of it. How could someone like Griffith possibly be so affected by my leaving to that degree, Guts thinks. Me, little old Guts, little homie. He has always felt like he was less than. Like, you need to understand, he doesn't feel like he means anything to anyone. But Casca explains to him that he doesn't understand that Griffith has always thought of him as his confidant, his second in command, even over Casca herself, who is very jealous of that and desires it so much that she resented him for the longest time and still kind of does. He trusted him and he betrayed him to pursue his own dream. How does he not see how selfish that is? It's gaslighting at its finest. But there's also so much more to it because Casca feels so deeply for Griffith herself, and in so many ways she wishes that she could be for Griffith what Guts is. But she can't. And how could she? It's nothing that any of them foresaw. And then, oh my God, it has so much pain.
Life is pain. Life is only pain.
After realizing what happened to Griffith, Guts resolves that he owes it to Griffith to rescue him. But the band has already had that covered. They're like, well, that's great that you feel that way, but we already had a raid planned, and, you know, we have this person who has a tip for us, and guess who it is? It's the princess. Honestly, we can skip the whole princess part, mostly because she's a kid, and it really is unfortunate that she assumes that her love is going to help Griffith in some way, but she doesn't understand that this man has been captured for a whole year and he doesn't care about you right now. You were just a tool that he used in a moment of despair, and it's just really unfortunate that she really believed that he loved her. But this tends to happen with Griffith, which we've seen before. He is able to use people to his advantage, like he used the King of Doldre. He was like, hey, I'll give you some hanky-panky real quick, and just remember me. And then they saw each other on the battlefield, and he had been actively, protecting him throughout that whole battle. He was like, hey, make sure you protect Griffith. That's my baby boy. And eventually it led to his demise, and they took over his entire kingdom because he let himself be weak with Griffith. Griffith is a snake, and he will use you. But he's great at using people for his needs. Princess Charlotte doesn't really know about that, though. So I just feel sorry for the child. Ugh. Anyway, as they descend the spiral staircase to make it to Griffith's cell, because it's at the very bottom, they get ready to see a broken shell of a man that used to be Griffith. And his broken self is just there lying on the ground as they open the door, and it's fucking terrible. I mean, of course, like when you picture someone who's been, hung on a couple hooks and flayed for a year, that's kind of what you think about. Their tendons are showing. He has this little helmet covering his mangled face, and Guts just cries at the sight of his friend. And I think in this moment, Griffith forgives Guts for leaving him behind because he came back to save him. Or at least that's how I feel. The Band of the Hawk is there to save him, and they're ready to get rid of all of these soldiers, hightail it the fuck out of there, and save him because he is their leader. Even after that entire year, they never forgot about him. They didn't leave him to rot. So he forgave them. Is this leading towards a happy ending, you ask? No, the answer is no. This is Berserk. It's not going anywhere happy. So we find out that Griffith has been totally maimed. So I'm gonna give you details now. If you don't want the details, you can skip to here. His tongue was removed, so he'll never speak. His tendons on his hands and his legs are destroyed, so he'll never fight ever again. Yeah, it's just terrible what they did to him, because it just seems like they would cut over his tendons, cut his muscles, cut basically anything that, you know, whatever you could see, they would cut it, let it heal, and then cut it again. So yeah, no hope of him ever fighting ever again. They did leave some things behind, so let's see if this goes anywhere happy. So they left his eyes, right? But he can see that Guts and Casca have fallen in love with each other, so.
What do I do now? What am I supposed to tell these men?
I'm sorry. I wish I had an answer for you.
That's not that great. Okay, so they also left his ears, but he can overhear all the conversations that they have, including the one where Casca tells Guts that she can't leave with him after all, because she can't leave Griffith like that.
You okay?
I'm sorry. I can't leave. I can't go. I can't go with you. He's so small and frail. How can I leave him? He's lost so much weight. He's always shivering. Griffith used to be so strong and confident. I can't leave him behind. Not like this. I can't leave him like this. I'm so sorry.
I'm staying too. I'll stay with the Band of the Hawk.
Yeah. That probably really hurt. He also is realizing that he can't control his body. There's a point where he tries to like grab a sword and it just falls over and he's just groaning. It's just really sad. So he's also lost Casca and Guts to each other. And that's extremely heartbreaking as well, because he has nothing. He has no one. So not only is he just realizing that all of this is happening, he's now resenting the person that he had just forgiven in the dungeon. Essentially, fuck forgiveness. We running on spite. Hi, I changed my hair because it was too tight and now my head hurts. Anyway, back to the video. Griffith is very upset and he just wants his dream back. This obviously is not possible because we've already been through this entire year of mangling and torturing and we can't go back now. So Griffith just takes his own horse and his carriage and he bolts. After this conversation that he overhears with Guts and Casca saying that they pity him and they can't leave him, he doesn't want anything more to do with this. He essentially says, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Yeah,
long. I've got to go. This playtime hasn't ended yet. Because that back alley cobblestone street continues on.
But he obviously is powerless to say anything because, you know, he can't talk, of course. So picture how small and insignificant Griffith feels right now. He is going to do the thing that he can do to, you know, send the biggest message. And that is, let's steal this horse and go as far away from here as we can. So, of course, we remember that he is supposed to cross paths with the Crimson Behelit again, right? That is his destiny. So, when he's on this horse and carriage, he comes across this little stream, and this is where he crashes and ultimately has this moment where he looks up into the sky and he thinks, what the fuck? What do we do? And right here, it just falls into his hand. So he impales his neck onto a branch essentially and starts bleeding onto it, and this is what summons the apostles and starts the eclipse. This is where he makes the decision to change everyone's lives forever.
Stay away. What is that? If you touch me now, I'll never be able to. Never again with you.
He fully goes forth and sacrifices everybody in order for his dream to come true, because he's hit rock bottom. Him crashing that horse and that carriage into that stream is his rock bottom. He has nothing. He can't walk anymore. His entire band has decided, let's all rally behind Guts now. He's our new leader. He can still walk. He's abled. And Casca only looks at him in pity now. She can no longer talk to him like he's a human being. So what does he do? He sacrifices them all. And this is where this is where you lose me, because everything that I just said is terrible. All the things that he has gone through are terrible, but you cannot do this. Okay. You can do this. He did do this, but you don't do this, man.
That Baelet is the egg of the king. Only those who can be reborn as one of us, the guardian angels of the God Hand, receives it. The rest of you are invaluable sacrifices for the angelic advent.
I knew it. This has got to be some kind of nightmare.
So you bastards want to turn Griffith into a monster in exchange for every one of our lives?
That's not quite correct. What will do that is his will. He will offer all of you as a sacrifice.
Griffith literally, like, misinterpreted everything that happened, and as a result, he blames everyone who has always put him first through all the things that have always happened to him. And you know what? I'll hold them accountable for that. I'll hold them accountable for always putting him first, because we should not do that. That's what got them into this situation in the first place. Griffith felt as though he was owed this. He thought, you've laid your lives out for me before. You'll do it once more to allow me to reach the ceiling. But it's as if this sacrifice was not the most egregious thing that he has ever committed to date. The events of the eclipse are very plainly laid out before us as all of the demons start to take hold and devour every single member of the Band of the Hawk. That was the greatest sacrifice of them all for Griffith, because he did care about each and every one of them. But that's what makes this entire sequence that much worse. His dream was that important to him that he was willing to betray every single one of them, because in his eyes, they had betrayed him. So it goes back to this earlier quote that Guts had said, quote, "Should anyone trample that dream, he would oppose him body and soul, even if that threat were me myself," unquote. That despite being friends, it doesn't matter to Griffith. You step in the way of his dream and you're getting run over. They all got run over. They ended up in a literal hell. Every last one of them was destroyed in horrible, horrible ways. Casca and Guts, just because they survived, doesn't mean they don't have lasting scars and pain from this. Casca literally has no memory. Well, she does now, but she had no memory of this right after the eclipse, and she went back to having a childlike mind after being assaulted by Griffith in front of Guts, who had his arm inside of a demon and had to pull it out of that demon's mouth just to try to get to her, to save her. The only reason that they got out of there is because of the Skull Knight, and regardless of this, they're still branded for life, and they still have to be in fear of demons following them wherever they go for the rest of their life. because they were offered up as sacrifices by the one person who they trusted, Griffith. And what really puts the cherry on top of all of this is the knowledge that throughout the eclipse, by we, I'm saying the reader, we're seeing the band of the Hawk rush to save Griffith, try to reach him. All the while, he is offering them up to slaughter to the apostles that he's eventually going to join as their 5th member. And they don't know that he is the reason this all started. He's the reason why they're there and the reason why they're all gonna die and never make it out. He is the chosen one, the one who was to hold the Crimson Behelit and choose the greatest sacrifice of all, the people who helped him to gain that dream. So he could set it on fire himself and then blame them for it. For more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Comment down below for any topics or any TV shows or any anime, cartoons, video games, anything you'd like commentary on. Thanks so much for watching. Griffith failed them all, in possibly the worst way, not only with death, but with eternal damnation and with spite.